This video has been by far the most popular request I've had from viewers on the channel, so after putting it off for some time, I've finally got around to doing my loadout video. I haven't gone into a huge amount of detail, but the info is all here. I like my kit because I know that it works for me, but for you it may be a case of trial and error. Hopefully, if you're starting out, this can give you some kind of starting point. A big thank you to Lance from November Foxtrot for helping me film this.
Alright, loadout video. This is the main, if you like, the primary. So, again, for YouTube's sake, I can't say what it is.
Wibble.
It's a wibble.
It's a wibble.
So this is a upgraded TM VSR. To be honest, I don't recommend getting these days unless you really know what you're doing in terms of teching. Just not that it's a difficult thing to do, it's just there are out-the-box solutions now that probably shoot just as well as this. So I really wouldn't go down this route unless you want to learn how to tech a sniper, which is a good thing to do. Just bear in mind it is a bit more expensive than just getting an out-the-box, say Modify Scout or the TAC 41. Or SSG-10, if you want to add a few upgrades, the SSG-10 is still a really great option. Very cheap for what it is. Well, I shouldn't say cheap, good value.
Non-pricey.
Non-pricey. So I'm not going to go through all the internal upgrades because I'll just be here for all day. So I'll put a list up on the screen now of what's in it and you can pause the video. But yeah, going over briefly the externals of it. So it's still got the TM stock. This is a bull piece, one piece receiver and barrel, so they're actually joined here, welded together or something, so it doesn't come apart like a normal VSR. This just makes it a bit more stable, and also between teching it, everything is perfectly aligned every time. Gsmithy TDC, you can't get these anymore, but you can get the TriDOS TDC. Then also we've got the cameras, they're charged in the stock with a battery pack in the stock. And then the scope is a Loopholes, VX Freedom, and then on top we have a little RMR. So this is more for like moving targets. So if someone's running through the trees, it's quite hard to track them through a scope sometimes. So having a little red dot on top really helps with that.
What's the net curtain on the side of your wibble?
So this is to stop people seeing the cocking. So if I'm
There's nothing worse than someone
hiding the cocking. So if I'm pointing the wibble,
yes,
pointing the wibble at you, it shields the movement, so you can't see my hand moving when I'm cocking the wibble.
No.
So yeah, that's the idea of that. It's all it is a cable tie, big fat cable tie attached to the scope. I'm quite proud of this. This was actually...
You should be proud of it, mate.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and then just a little bit of cloth hanging off it. So in terms of camoing the wibble, I'm using scapper tape. So this is really cheap stuff that you can get off eBay. Doesn't matter where you go wrong. It's nice and rough. I have inked it. There are lots of ways to camo your wibble, and I'm not going to say like one way is better than another. The reason I prefer sort of minimal crafting is two reasons. It makes it a lot more lightweight. I know it's not that heavy to have a wibble wrap, but when you're carrying this around in your hands all day, every bit of weight does count. So scapper tape. The other reason, this environment here doesn't have them in them, but when you're playing in brambles and stuff and you want to bring the wibble up into the pewing position
To get your wibble on.
you want to do that nice and slow, and if you are poking your barrel through thorns and bushes, it can catch. So being able to just slowly move it up, I wouldn't say it catches, it more tugs, and that movement obviously gives you away. So,
and it's not so much the movement of you moving the wibble, it's more the bush moving with it, isn't it? Like pulling out brambles and thorns and things like that, yeah.
I don't think perhaps as important as people think. So if I'm pointing at you now like this, you're only seeing a very small profile from your view. I know you can say, well, there might be enemies over there, so they've got an angle where they can see it, but yeah, it's all about compromise. Yeah. There are different ways to do it. Everyone has their own way of doing it.
Yeah, but predominantly you're going to be tucked away, aren't you? You're not going to be exposed on like your left or right side. You're going to be in a little nook and cranny somewhere before making your shot, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the Mark 23. This is the TM version. It's got the Hadron TDC and the hex suppressor from Sniper Mechanic. Internally it's got Flamingo Bucking, and I think it's got a TNT barrel in there at the moment. Might be a Maple Leaf, I can't remember. Definitely want to get a TDC if you're thinking of running heavy ammo, which is what most of us do. It's not that expensive because you're barely using it throughout the day. I probably shoot 3 mags in a whole day sometimes, maybe even less. The other thing about this, it's not a fast shooting pew. What I mean by that is the trigger pull, coming close, Lance. The trigger pull starts all the way back here and then goes all the way, and then you get like to a break point, and then it fires. So it's not a hair trigger like a gas blowback. So the advantage to a non-blowback pistol like this is that it doesn't make a loud sound when you shoot. So the slide doesn't move, and that's the thing that sort of makes the loud sound on a gas blowback. The only thing that makes the sound really is the sort of clickiness of the internals. So I'll take a few shots now. And a bit of sort of air expansion. Because it's got these chamfered ends, both ends, it fits really nicely in the universal holster, which is something the other... Yeah, so it fits in really nicely, it comes out really nicely. Nice bit of kit, that.
There's my catchphrase, your own catchphrase.
Sorry?
Nice bit of kit, I always say that.
Nice bit of kit. I got that off November Foxtrot.
Oh, there it is, there's the drop.
I knew you had to plug something.
Just a couple of things to add on upgrades. I am by no means an airsoft tech, and although I know how to upgrade these particular wibbles, I learnt these things from the wider airsoft community. This particular VSR was actually bought from my friend the Grey Fox, and since then I've added a few upgrades. If you want to find out more about upgrades, go check out Sniper Mechanic's blog, where he's got guides and reviews on various products. He also has a YouTube channel, which I will link in the description.
How's your holster fixed to the webbing there? Is it through molly, or have you just zip tied and things like that?
I'm going to do a little section inside showing exactly how this is done, because I'll show a little video of that now.
So I've taken the straps off this universal holster. This is from Viper. Basically all I've done is drill 2 holes here, 1 hole up there and 2 holes here. And for this you can either use a knife, or I'm using these that kind of gets in there and you snip away at the fabric, or you can use a drill. Drill is probably the best option. Then I'm going to get thick cable ties, 3 thick cable ties. You do want ones that are reasonably strong, and then put them, so I've actually cut holes here so that it's angled a certain way, but you could go through the webbing, it just might kink your webbing a bit. So put these through here like this, and then we're just going to put through the holes the cable tie in each of the 3 positions, and because this is in the cross draw position, I'm going to angle it slightly towards me, so yeah, it just sits a bit better on the body. So there we go, all attached, fits in really nicely.
So this is the beanie hat that I wear in the winter. So I've got obviously 2 suits. I've got the brown suit for the winter environment. So this is a Pencott Badlands beanie that I've modified, just giving it a bit of a spray to make it a bit darker, and crafted straight onto it with an awl tool. So the awl tool is just a tool that makes a little hole in any kind of fabric, so you can get a cable tie through and attach a bit of cotton or AGM. So when it comes to crafting the beanie, I'm trying to craft the sides of the beanie. So this is these bits here, coconut rope, sort of help bulk it out sideways. On top, I try not to do really any crafting. There's very minimal crafting right on top, just because that's just going to increase your profile quite a bit. But the sides, definitely you want to try and break that up, because that's the thing that, break up the form of the human body and all that. So in the summer, I'm wearing this. So this is a beanie hat with crafted AGM and silly sticks. So silly sticks are these things that I make.
Did you name them?
I did. So they're basically just wire
with
AGM woven into them. So it sticks out a bit more than usual. The head is the most important bit to camouflage, because obviously it's the main thing on show and it's the highest bit off the ground, so it's most likely the thing that's going to give you away. So breaking that shape of the head is really obviously important. So yeah, the silly sticks help with that. They also keep it really breathable, because you don't need loads of them to break that shape. If you can see, the top of my head is almost completely uncrafted and the mesh is breathing as it should be. This is obviously really important in the summer because under these things you get bloody hot. Also on both boonies I've cut the rim back or folded the rim back. On this one it's folded back, that one I've cut it off. Okay. So if you have a brim that goes all the way around, it creates a big shadow over your face, and that just slightly helps eliminate that shadow. Again, not perfectly, but yeah, especially with the GoPro on. So on the back we've got a battery pack which runs a wire around the front to charge the GoPro. So coming down a bit we've got the mesh brim. So this is just a tiny bit of fabric that droops down from the boonie. So I've attached this. It droops down from the boonie over the crafted bit of the Kadura. So the Kadura is the bit that sits on top of the crafted goggles and sticks up, so it sort of overlaps them if you like. So coming down to the goggles, these are crafted Heroshark goggles. So around the edge of them is a Kadura panel with two obviously cutouts for your eyes, and these are just cable tied through using the micro cable ties through the mesh, and they attach this kind of like panel around the eyes. The reason I'm using Kadura is because it's stiff and it stays up. If you try and use any kind of weak fabric like cotton, it just droops down. So moving down, we've got a Lonestar Tactical face mask. So this is obviously a mesh mask. The mesh is only on the front, it only protects my teeth.
I'm lucky enough to have a full beard, so I don't require Face Pro.
Show them your beard, Lance.
I don't smile during airsoft, so I haven't got to worry about my teeth.
Show them the beautiful beard. Here's my cameraman.
Hello everybody. Here it is. It's unkempt at the moment, so I do apologise to my...
How does that protect your teeth though?
That's what I'm saying, I don't smile at airsoft. Airsoft is serious, it's real, and there should be no call for smiling, so...
The Zoolander face, yeah.
Absolutely.
Just the BBs stop as you...
That's it, it's like a force field, you just drop to the floor in front.
The mesh is only on the front, it only protects my teeth. And this is really important when you're trying to scope up. Your cheek's going to be on there like that. I don't know if you can see, but I can get really nice and snug behind the scope. If you've got a big mesh mask on, you can't do that. You're sort of up here and you're trying to get down. It's very lightly crafted, this face mask. Again, your head is the thing that gets hot, especially in the summer. So light crafting only if you can. I see so many guys just piling as much leaves on as possible to try and sort of break up this shape of the head. You can do that in other ways. Some players seem to manage fine when it's all crafted. I don't know if they're hot or not. I don't ask them.
That would be a really weird conversation to have, wouldn't it?
Are you quite hot? So moving down, we've got the Ghillie. So this is just the Viper Tactical concealment vest. I have sewn on, the only adjustment that's sort of a bit new is I've sewn on extended arms so that it covers the whole of my arms. Everything else is standard. I've removed the hood because I just don't really need it. I know some guys keep the hood on and that helps to bulk out the back of their head and deforms the shape of the head, and yeah, that's a good idea, but I just prefer having it nice and comfy on the back and being able to move around without anything rubbing. So yeah, remove that. So yeah, Viper Tactical concealment vest. It starts as an MTP base. I'll throw up a picture now of me modifying the base. This is basically just using spray paint. So if you look at the back of this cape, if you like, it's got, you can see quite big, what we call macro pattern. Big fancy word. Basically, it's just a big split up of colours.
It's a very fancy word for a sniper.
Yeah, macro intelligence. Yeah, so you can see big green patches and big brown patches. There are different ways of doing this. Some suit better different environments better. But yeah, on the arms, it's quite heavily crafted, but I still, as you can see, left big gaps everywhere. So yeah, the reason I do this is, well, there's different ways of doing it, but the idea is to have different textures and shapes on the body. If you just completely coat yourself with leaves, you create the same pattern everywhere on the suit, and it's not so effective. Other reason, of course, is breathability. You don't get too hot if it's crafted like this. Also, at this distance, the range at which we're filming right now, it probably does look a bit bare. But if I went like B-roll. yeah, I'm not really trying to hide. It's just trying to show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't really see the gaps.
You can see as the further you got away, the blend.
Yeah, you can't see the bare mesh anymore. It's just shadows and leaves. Up like 2 meters away, which does occasionally happen in airsoft. Most of the time, if they're not looking at you or in your direction and you're not moving, you don't need heavily crafted ghillie suits, in my opinion.
Do you find that you use a lot of natural vegetation out in the field, like any situation, especially up more predominantly in the summertime? Would you add additional little bits and bobs as and when you needed to?
Yeah, in the summertime, I will definitely add a bit of vegetation to the suit. But again, in airsoft, the difference between airsoft and the real thing, you're running around, and obviously, I know you're playing in a ghillie suit, but you still have to get in position, and often getting in a good position means running to that position. So if you're putting so much natural vegetation on you, you're going to overheat immediately. I see it the whole time with people wearing jute suits, the big stringy suits, the
proper Wookiee suits.
Wookiee suits. Yeah. You see them wearing it all fully kitted out in the morning, and then at lunchtime the only thing they've got on is the trousers because they're completely overheated. Yeah, I see it literally every game day. I see someone doing that, and it's not to sound mean, but it is often their first time out in a ghillie, and they just don't know about how bad the heat can be in these. I know people say like match the camo to your environment, but it's actually really hard to do, especially in winter when you can't really use that much natural vegetation because it just falls off. So if you look around here, we've got greens, browns, and then twigs, so it's like 3 different environments. You never know which environment is going to be the best position to hide in, so having adapting your camouflage throughout the day, great if you can do it, but it's something that's not really that attainable. So down to the webbing. So I have the Dutch Army webbing vest. So this is a very lightweight webbing vest, and the main reason I'm going for this design is because the 2 panels, the 2 molly panels, sit under my arms and not on my front, and that 2 things, it helps with the cross draws. So yeah, you can see it sits really nicely, draws really simply from this position. The main reason also that we go for it is when you're lying down on the ground, I'll just try and demonstrate this now, and you're in this sort of hide position, if you like, you're shooting at someone who's maybe looking your way. If you have it on the belt, like most people do, you do this sort of long movement like this. Yeah, for sure. Whereas if you're down here like this, you don't have to move really at all to get your wibble. You're just down there and up.
Yeah, so you're not rolling your shoulders left or right or anything.
Your whole body doesn't have to move. Yeah. So elsewhere on this webbing set, we have 2 mag pouches on this side. So these hold either my bolt action mags or my MK mags. These aren't compatible with the SSG-10. I believe some people have made modifications. Whether they work or not, I'm not sure. So obviously with this chest rig, the ghillie goes on top with it. There are other ghillies where it would go over it, and so it is crafted. Just taking it off here so you can kind of see what it looks like under the ghillie. There we go. Oh yeah, the other thing, I don't wear a belt because I wear braces. I just like having quite a loose waistband, if you know. It just makes movement a bit easier. And yeah, these are much better at keeping your trousers up than a belt. Underneath for ghillie, I would always recommend wearing wicking or lycra, something that's like for sports, because yeah, you get very hot, and I've said that so many times, but you do. So going down, we got these are Leo Collier, hope I pronounced that right. Trousers, you can get these on Flecton UK. Yeah, I don't know if they've got them in stock at the moment. By the way, I should say I'm not sponsored by any of these brands that I bring up in this video. Yeah, full disclosure, all that. These are good because they have knee pads, so really comfy knee pads. These are sort of memory foam knee pads that don't, like one of the problems I found with knee pads you're wearing, Lance.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with my knee pads.
No, maybe not those ones, but basically when you take a knee sometimes they twist round, but these cover a very large area on the knee, so whichever angle you go down, or if they get tugged in one direction, they always end up with the pad facing down. Boots, I've got Vivo barefoot shoes. So these are...
The reason Ghillie guys go for barefoot shoes like this is that we can feel the ground under our feet. So if you're sneaking up on someone and you come across a stick, you can avoid stepping on it by just feeling it's there. You can also tiptoe a lot easier in these shoes.
They've got ankle protection. They're leather. You do have to treat leather. I've actually got it in my pocket now. Beeswax. So this is Haribo. There's lots of tutorials online. I'm not going to go through it now. So the nice thing about them though is they do stay waterproof. There are different levels of waterproof, as I'm sure you know, but these do survive throughout the winter fine. If it's really, really wet, I probably would recommend another kind of more waterproof brand. I don't really know. Maybe you can suggest one, Lance.
I've always been a huge fan of the Ortberg Defender through the winter months. And again, you use beeswax, but I use clear dubbing. It keeps the leather supple, stops it cracking and splitting. What's the reasoning for the non-crafted bottoms? The pants, if you're in the US.
Well, you can wear crafted. A lot of people do wear crafted trousers. The thing is, when you're in a high position, 90% of the time, I'd say, my legs are behind cover anyway. However, if you do want to get behind the enemy lines and be really, really sneaky, they definitely can be a thing to get. On my hands, I'm wearing direct action leather gloves. These last a long time. You do have to treat them again because it's leather, but you can see I've had these almost a year, I reckon. And the fingertips, that's the bit where they're going to wear out. They're still fine, and I wear these a lot. They're very tactile. You can easily get into your mag and sort all your stuff out. Yeah, very tactile. So at a milsim, or a 3-day event, or sort of where I'm camping over and I'm going to be out in the field for quite a long time, I do obviously carry water with me. This is just a normal hydration pack, camel pack. It's got pockets in the back. Here you store like spare sweets, biscuits, Skittles, whatever. And yeah, on the front, I clip my radio onto this bit here. And that just sits there. This is just a Bofang. I think it's Bofang UV5R. Yeah, I use the bone conductor headset. So this is quite good because it doesn't actually go over your ears. It just it's called a bone conductor because it literally just touches your bone behind your ear and transmits the sound that way. And it's got the mic built in, so yeah, the push to talk. Yeah, it's all right. I have had issues getting it in the right position before, but when I'm playing milsim, I don't have this face mask. I have just camo paint, which is much more cooling, especially if you're literally there for 2 days. You don't want to be wearing a balaclava or a face mask. I know, obviously, have it with you if you're going into like a CQB area, but when you're just out in the woods like this and you're sniping, you're it's a tenuous issue.
Don't wear face pro.
Don't wear face pro because
it screws my headshot videos out if you wear face pro.
I would actually recommend not using face pro. No. Yeah, on a 2-day event, you really aren't going to want to wear a full face mask the whole time, just because you get just sweaty and slivery. And what words would you describe your face pro after 2 days?
I'm lucky enough to have a full beard, so I don't require face pro.
Okay, so that's face paint and a beanie. And then the advantage to that as well is I can wear clear glass goggles, which makes it much easier to see through the scope. My milsim kit is very basic. It's basically just my skirmish kit with water and a radio. I still sometimes use the radio if it's a big skirmish map. Compared to someone like you, the camera... what the but yeah, compared to someone like you who lives and breathes milsim...
Is that me or the viewer at home, you?
Obviously the viewer at home is likely not to play milsim because nobody who watches Airsoft videos actually plays Airsoft. Yeah, in the future we'll do sit down with you, Lance, and we'll talk about milsim and the kit. especially as you've now got a snipper refill.
Wibble.
Thanks for watching. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them. I do try to answer all questions on the long format videos that I do. Back to my normal videos for next week.